We study the genetics of nicotine addiction, and we know there's a very strong genetic component to nicotine dependence, and so we're trying to understand what genes alter risk for nicotine dependence, how they affect the brain, and with that information we hopefully can develop better ways to treat nicotine dependence. Every time we find a new gene or a variant in a gene and we understand how that gene alters how an individual responds to nicotine, we learn something about the brain that we didn't know before. There's a prevailing theory that people smoke as a form of medication to relieve the symptoms of depression, and our project is really to test the hypothesis that actually smoking by itself causes depression. Individuals with psychiatric disorders, particularly schizophrenia, smoke because they're extracting nicotine as a form of self-medication. It has been shown that nicotine, when given to a schizophrenic patient, actually normalizes some of their neurological deficits.
I'm studying a gene interaction that might be related to schizophrenia. And we're kind of hoping to get an underlying mechanism behind all of them, or most of them, that could eventually lead to treatment.
This lab system is great. There's fabulous collaboration between the different labs. Our lab works very closely with another lab, and that's not something I've seen a lot of before, but everybody works really, really well together and seems to do much better science than any lab would be able to do by itself.
Genes or mutations in genes by themselves don't cause disease. It's the inability of the system to basically correct the deficit caused by that mutation that causes the disease. And by understanding how the brain responds to nicotine, and particularly when you have different versions of different genes, that might help us develop novel approaches that haven't been thought of in the past.